So, good evening, all, and I hope my audio is clear to all the participants. So, before starting with the session, we'll try to, confirm with the technical details. If my audio is clear to all the participants, just type a yes in the chat box so that I could also understand with the factors. Okay, okay, great. Okay, then. So, before going to today's topic is related with organization development. But before going to that, I just wanted to give you a small brush up about yesterday's sessions. Yesterday's session, we discussed about the scope and what are the areas an organization psychologist can thrive. We discussed about the difference between HR manager, and we also discussed about how organization psychologists play an important role in improving the workplace of the organization and many stuffs related to it. So today we will be discussing about the topic called as organization development. So you can basically, before explaining itself, you can basically understand from the name itself what it is. It is about how you develop a particular company or an organization towards profit, towards providing value to their customers, and many such things. Now, I'll also explain you what is organization development. Organization development is basically, as I mentioned earlier, it is a process of developing the company to the next level. Whether it can be applicable to providing the value, it can be applicable to initiating more profits every year, because at the end of the day, every company is nothing but a business, and a business has or is required to initiate profits. So, and it has different phases or different life cycles, to be more simple. I'll try to explain that as well. But let me ask you a very simple question. Let me start with a simple question. If the organization has to be developed, what are the changes we should bring, or what are the things we should take care of regarding the employees? You can say your answers or you can say your suggestions in the chat box. If you want to develop your organization, what are the things you want to bring, or what are the changes you have to bring to your employees? Okay, increasing productivity. Yeah, everybody, you can just type your own answers in the chat box so that it will be a more learning process. We will get multiple dimensions as well. Okay. 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 So, as I mentioned, this organization development, of course, whatever all of you said, that is true. That is right as well. I'll also, will slowly step into the different phases of, this organization development. There are totally 5 phases, and I'll try to, mention these 5 phases in the chat box for your clarity. These are the 5 phases of organization development. As I mentioned, everything which has been involved in a workplace, or whether it is a corporate or a startup, it has a framework. It has a particular framework. Most of the companies are working based on the frameworks, and these are the 5 simple phases of organization development. For your understanding, I have mentioned it in the chat box. Yeah, 5 phases of organization development. Yeah, if you had seen the chat box, you'll be able to listen to it. These are the 5 phases of organization development, and this is how every companies are evolving, whether in the basis of profit, or whether in the basis of satisfying their customers, or proving to the next level, or basically in the competition. The first thing is entry. The second is diagnosis. The third is feedback. The fourth is solution. And the last is evaluation. I'll repeat. The first is entry. The second is diagnosis. The third is feedback. The fourth is the next factor, that is solution. And the last is the evaluation. Now let's try to decode these, five phases of organization development. And as I mentioned, it is just a strategy, or you can also say it's something like a framework. First, we'll start with the entry point. Whenever there is a problem in an organization or you wanted to solve something, the first thing you have to understand is you just have to explore the problems, the opportunities, or the situations which are being imbibed in your company. Let me give you a simple example. Say for instance, if your company has high attrition rate. What is this attrition rate basically? If your company has a situation where many people are resigning from your company, that is also one of the obstacle in your organization development. If many people, if there are 100 people and every week 2 or 3 people are resigning from your company, that is a problem. So that also becomes an obstacle for the growth of your company. And for this, we can try to use these five phases of organization development. As I mentioned, the first is entry. That is, you just have to understand the problem. In the entry phase, you understand the problem, you see the opportunities, and you also see the situations as well. Now, let's take the same example of many people are resigning in an organization. I mentioned we understand the problem, we see the opportunities, we execute the solutions, right? So what could be the reasons if there are many people resigning in a company continuously? What could be the reasons? Can you mention it in the chat box? You can say your statements. What could be the reasons many people are resigning? Bad culture, bad work environment. Okay. Working environment. Okay. Workload, toxic work culture, low salary. True. Too much work pressure, system failure. Yes. No growth. Definitely. Okay. Yeah. See, all these points, right? Lack of support, bad culture, growth, respect. All these points are. It may be you would have understood from your previous learning or your previous experience. It may be from your subject, or you would have understood it from your seniors or whatever it is. But understand that when we diagnose a problem, the problem should not be something completely initiated by the factors alone. It should be something like you should always have data points to prove your point is correct. If you're saying that because of the bad culture, the company has been facing this resignation problems, you also need to have the data points to justify. And that is what the second phase is. That is the diagnose phase. The first phase is, as I mentioned, it is an entry phase. The second phase is diagnose phase. Whether are you able to diagnose the problem based on the data? Say, for instance, if many people from one particular team are resigning, if it is from marketing team alone people are resigning, then the problem is not with the whole company culture, but the problem is with the marketing team or the marketing manager. Such as the data points. The data points or the justifications which helps you to come to a conclusion. The first is entry phase. The second is diagnosis phase. In this diagnosis phase, you basically understand, or you try to gather the points, try to gather the informations which support your statement. Okay, we understood a problem. Then the second factor is we gather many informations or relevant data to justify our point. And the next thing is we have to get feedback. That is mandatorily we have to talk with the people, we have to talk with the employees, or talk with the uh, you know the stakeholders and understand and get the feedbacks from their perspectives. Now, let's try to decode this simple statement itself. I said that, we will be decoding the statements, or we will be decoding the things from their own perspective. Of course, you are HR professionals, you are working for the employees, then you should be knowing what is good and bad for employees. Then why we are asking feedbacks from them? Even though we are HR professionals, even though we study this organization psychology, human behavior, and all stuff, and like that, then what is the need for, as we are HR professionals or organization psychologists, what is the need for asking feedbacks to the employees? Why we should ask feedbacks? Can you say a point? Like, you can say your perspectives in the chat box. Why we as professionals, to understand the problem, why we should ask feedbacks to the employees itself to understand the problem better. Okay, everybody, almost like we have a good count of 70 plus students. Let's make sure that everybody are answering, even though your answers, as I mentioned already, even though your answers are been already said, it's totally fine. You can again post your answers. It is all about you contributing to the program. Okay, okay, to know their expectations, to make them feel included. Okay, solution is better tailored to the employees. Okay, to look at the points as employees. Okay, okay, great. For improvement, to understand their point of view. Okay, okay, to know all possible angles. Yes, yes. I'll try to give a very relevant example, um, which everyone could relate for this instance. I know most of you would have you know tried this aspect of cooking, or tried this aspect of making a tea or a coffee in your life for the first time, right? How many of you have kept, or you have cooked a coffee or a tea, or you have made a tea for yourself or coffee for yourself? If yes, just say yes. If no, just say no. It's a very simple question. Have you made coffee or tea for the first time in your life without anyone's instructions or something like that? Right? I'll try to connect this example with the feedback aspect. Okay, okay. Yes, yes. I think almost everybody is saying yes. That's a good sign as well. You know. Now let's get to the feedback part. When you make your first tea or your coffee, you go to your parents or your siblings, and first you drink the tea or you drink the coffee. You may feel kind of okayish. I'm saying about the first time, not the time when you have improved. I'm saying about the first time when you have made a tea or a coffee. You go and you say, you give it to your parents or your siblings or brothers or sisters, and you see that they change their face, or they give a very a very sad reaction, or they actually feel very kind of trapped. They can't say the feedbacks. They can't hurt you, but they also wanted to say that the tea or the coffee is very fast, right? Have you felt that reaction from your parents or your siblings or brothers? What kind of reaction did they give you when you gave them their first tea or coffee? To make the session a little more interesting, try to post what did your parents or your siblings give as a reaction using the emojis in the chat box. What was their first reaction when they drank your first tea or your first coffee which you had made for them? What was their reaction? Try to use emojis instead of words. Instead of emojis, try to use words. Sorry, instead of words, try to use the emojis. What kind of reaction did they? Okay, 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 okay. Everybody, like, all can try to Give your emojis. Like what kind of emojis did your parents or siblings, brothers or sisters give you? Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I could see, I could see actually mixed kind of emotions. See, the point is very simple, basically. Um, when we make something, we hardly find mistakes there. When we do something, we hardly find mistakes there. We can only figure out the mistakes from the operant's side. Say, for instance, whether it may be it may be the tea we make, it may be the coffee we make, or it may also be the company which we build. Basically, as a human resource professionals, you are the people who are building the companies, building the work culture, building the environment. Every single thing are being slowly built by you people. And since it is made by you, you will hardly find any mistakes in the system. Since the system itself is being made by you will never find much mistakes in your system. That's what I can try to give you as a simple example. The same applies there also. Since the system is made by you will not be able to find what is the problem. I think everything is going fine. Then why people are resigning? You'll be actually in a confusion. And to solve this confusion, this is where the feedback actually comes. Yes, as Anshul said, yes, the biased answer. We may have a good opinion, but that may not suit for every employee. So that is where actually the feedback comes in. As many mentioned in the chat box, the point of view, the different sort of point of view from different employees actually helps you to understand it as well. And this is where feedback as the third phase brings a very important term in the organization development. The first is entry, the second is diagnosing, the third is feedback system. Now, many companies, do this mistake. That is, they just take the take the feedbacks, they never implement it, or they never try to rectify it. You know, we would have this same situation. It may be with our teachers, or it may be with our parents. There are a few times where our teachers or parents become suddenly they change. Suddenly they say that hereafter I'm going to be a friend for you. You can say whatever you want, and all stuffs like that. And when we give them the feedbacks, they feel offended. Okay, it applies for both. Even you may be a teacher, or you may be a student, you may be a parent, you may be a child, whatever it is. When someone says that you can open up, I will not judge you, I will not say anything. But when we open up, people start getting offended, and they also start reacting bad. We may feel that, okay, it's better to be silent instead of saying feedbacks. And that is what most companies also represent. The companies ask for feedbacks, but they never try to rectify it. And they hardly work on the mistakes also. But if you are a organization who are actually interested to work on the development of the company, to make sure that the company has to improve to the next level, then as a company you should definitely implement at least 60 to 70% of the feedbacks which your employees are giving to you. Say, for instance, if an employee is giving you two feedbacks, at least it's good to address one feedback also. Okay, let me take this question from the employee's point of view. Okay, you all the 70 plus participants here are HR professionals. I am a employee in your company. Okay, and you are asking me feedbacks. I am giving you feedbacks. I'm giving you 2 to 3 feedbacks to improve the company to the next level. But I see the irony that not even one feedback was implemented. Whatever I said, you just listened to it, but you never implemented. How this will affect me? Or from the next time when I ask when you are asking me feedback, what would be my reaction? If you were me, what would be your reaction? Just say it in the chat box. I'll say the statement again. Let's say like I am the HR, you are the employees. I'm asking you feedbacks, but you are giving me feedbacks. I'm just listening to it. I'm not implementing it. And you also understood that, okay, this person is just listening to the feedbacks, but are not implementing. How will you feel? You can say your answers in the chat box. Everybody. Useless, pointless, okay, frustrated, disappointed, waste of energy, irritated, angry, me more. Okay. Just ignore. Okay. Ignore, angry, dissatisfied. Yes. Won't give feedback for the next time. Frustrated, unheard. Okay. 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 Great. Yeah. That is the whole case here. When employees are being asked feedback, they also check whether my feedback is being implemented or not. And if my feedback is not implemented, I'm not going to say anything from the next time. This is just going to be a typical namesake process. A typical namesake process. So the fourth important phase, that is not only asking about feedbacks, but also making sure that the problems are being corrected and improved, at least to a particular point of time, or at least to a particular extent. Because not every feedbacks can be implemented. We will have our own limitations. The employees may have too much of expectations from the organization, but as professionals, we will have our own limitations which we can implement in the aspects. Now, we have asked for the problem. We diagnose the problem with the data and relevant informations. We ask feedbacks with their employees. We also make sure that we are bringing a solution to that. Now, what is the last phase? Okay, let me check how many of you are able to remember the fifth phase. We discussed about 5 phases of organization development. Let me check how many of you are able to remember. Just mention what is the fifth phase. Even if people have answered, you can also try to mention your answers in the chat box. Okay. Evaluation. True. What is this evaluation basically? It is, let's try to give you a simple example of imagine you're doing something, you're doing a task, or you're doing a homework or a max problem, something like that. The first time you make mistake, you ask your teacher, and the teacher gives you some solutions, and you again rectify the mistake. And what happens here? You don't, okay, I have asked feedback, so I will not ask every time. No, if you do that, you're never going to complete your homework. You're never going to understand that problem in that max. If you completely want to understand the problem, you also have to validate your new application of the solution. After getting the feedback and after applying the solutions in the program, you also have to validate whether the new implementations are helping the employees or not. So it's a connective process. And this is what basically are the 5 phases of the organization development. I'll try to repeat the statement. We discussed about entry. We discussed about diagnosis. In the entry, we figure out the problem. In the next phase, that is diagnosis, we come up with data points. And in the next phase of, we ask them feedbacks related with the employees. And the next is we also, apply the solutions which the feedbacks are, trying to implement it or not and stuff like that. And the last is the evaluation part, asking or reassuring with your employees whether the new changes are good to them or not. The new changes are good to them or not. We are just, trying to get validation. Basically, that is the, if you wanted to give you in a simple form, that is the basic point here. That is, yeah. Now, I will also try to give you some of the organization development initiatives. Okay. The first thing which we discussed was what is organization development. Then we discussed what is organization development phases. There were 5 phases. Now we're just going to discuss about the initiatives in the development of an organization. There are 1 to 2 initiatives basically. We'll be trying to address it. The first is human process. Okay. The first is human process. I'll try to explain every single thing. Now I'm just trying to give you the names alone. The first is basically human process, because when you focus on the human process, there are chances that your company is going to focus on the development also. What is this human process basically? Let me explain it. Human process is nothing but the team building aspects of your fellow employees towards the vision statement. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine that you are building a sports team. Okay, imagine that you are building a sports team. Your ultimate aim is to win the national championship. Okay, your ultimate aim is to win the national championship. For winning the national championship, the first thing we need to require is a good team. Now, let me ask this question. What is a good team actually? Whether it is a sports team or in your companies, what is a good team according to you? Say your answers in the chat box. What is a good team according to you? Whether it may be in the workplace? No, not the teamwork. Like, what is a good team according to you? That is a simple question. Helping each other, healthy performances, skilled, motivated, okay, working together, understanding, dedication, accepts a goal, okay, respecting each other, productive results, motivating others, okay. Yeah, so all the participants, make sure that you're also having an eye on the chat box so that you can also get the multiple dimensions from the program. Okay. Great. Okay. So yes, now let's try to come up with a conclusion. Of course, whatever you people said, teamwork, staying motivated, skilled, supporting each other, every answer is right. See, there's no right answers, there is no wrong answers. It's all about you saying your point of view. That is what actually matters. So the right team, let me add my point also. The right team is a team which actually works towards the vision state. Let me give you a simple a day-to-day example. You all would have heard about this famous company called as Apple. That is basically iPhone. They produce iPhone, they produce Mac laptops and Macintosh computers, many other products, right? Many people asked, what is the success, or what is the reason behind this success of a company like Apple? And Steve Jobs was the founder and CEO of Apple products, Apple companies basically. He said a simple thing that when we build teams, we make sure that we are building team towards our vision state. What was Apple's vision statement? Basically, they wanted to make humans' life better using technology. That was a simple statement for Apple company. They wanted to make humans' life better through technology. You know, even the if you check all their products, this is that one vision statement which relies on Apple's vision. So every engineer who joined Apple had this thought in mind. They wanted to make humans' life better using technology. Every marketing person had this thought in Apple. Every finance person, every HR person, every single person who joined the company was inculcated this thought and asked to work towards it. Because if your company is 10 employees or 20 employees, you can meet every day, you can talk, you can debrief and stuff like that. But if your employees are 1,000, 5,000 or 10,000, you can't inculcate or you can't teach everybody. Then what you do, you fix a vision, you make sure that everybody are aligned towards the vision. If you ask Apple employees, they don't say that they are working in the engineering sector, they are working in the marketing sector. They say that they are here to make humans' life better through their technology or through their products. And that is what is human process. And that is what is building a team. Building a team towards a single vision statement and making sure that whoever is joining your company is being trained with the vision statement. So whenever a person joins the company, the person knows, okay, my work is to make humans' life better. Through how? Through Apple's products or through Apple software or through Apple technology. And when Apple imbibed this strategy of human process, that is how Apple as a company started improving in every single level. So when you wanted, or if you are trying to improve your company to the next level as a professional or as a human resource professional department, the first thing you have to focus on is the team building core towards a single vision statement. The team building goal towards a single vision statement. Now, the second important initiative is obviously regarding the strategic initiatives. The first is human process initiative. The second is strategic initiative. Of course, there are a number of initiatives, but I'm trying to address the most important initiatives basically. As I mentioned, the first was human process. It relates with how you build a team and how you make sure that everybody are working towards the team and stuff like that. And the next is related with the strategic initiatives. Now, let's try to have a small discussion regarding this. Whenever we do a process, why it has been very important, or why it has been considered as a very important factor, or basically for strategy. Why strategy is given importance whenever you plan something, or whenever you are starting a program, or whenever you are starting any single thing. Why it has been considered, or why basically strategy is being given importance. Whether you are cooking, whether you are building a product, whether you are starting a business, whether you are applying for a job, everything needs a strategy, right? Why strategy is very important? What's your thought about it? You can say it in the chat box. Why strategy is important? Roadmap implementation. Okay. Why strategy is important? This is the simple question. Okay, you can say whatever is your thought. You can try to say it in the chat box. Base plan. Okay. Know what's the goal. Okay. Planning in chunks give a clear picture. Okay. Planning makes. Okay. Smart work. Clear picture for given a direction. Okay. Accomplish goals. Okay. Strategy makes things clear. Okay. True. Let's take a simple example here. If say for instance, if I wanted to cook Maggie, what is the simple strategy I have to use? I have to make sure that I cut all the vegetables. If I'm a vegetarian, I have to cut the vegetables. If I'm a non-vegetarian, I have to choose the supplements like meat or egg or whatever it is as a supplement to the Maggi noodles, right? And I also have to make sure that my kitchen is clean and stuff like that. And then I have also to plan how much minutes should I cook this particular meal to get it in a particular taste, so that it is not burned too much, it is not lofty too much, stuff like that. Even to cook up 2 minutes noodles, as it is been advertised, even to cook a 2 minutes noodles, we need a particular strategy. How we are going to plan, how we are going to execute, what are the resources we have, and all stuff like that. The same applies in an organization also. When you wanted to develop your organization to the next level, it doesn't happen in a small time frame. It takes its own time. It takes its own efforts to initiate it, but it needs definitely a strategy, because as you all said, only strategy will help you to understand or to get understanding about your goals. Where am I going? What am I going to do? How am I going to implement? And all these details. So these are the important two initiatives in the organization development. The first is human process initiative, things related to human, building a team, training them on their vision statement. The second is related to the factors, that is nothing but the yeah the factors, that is nothing but strategic initiatives. What are the strategy I'm going to bring? What are the strategy I'm going to implement? What are the requirements of the organization? How can we inculcate this in the employees and stuff? Now let's check how you are able to, are you able to come up with uh, you know creative strategies. Let me give you a small situation. Try to build a one line strategy. I don't need many lengthy explanations or something, just a one line strategy. What will you do if your company is having this particular problem? Okay, let's say that your company is been facing a cultural shift. Okay, what is this cultural shift basically? When the company is was like 100 employees or 200 employees, and now it is suddenly 500 employees. The company, before 6 months, the company was hardly 50 to 70 employees. Now it is 500 employees. And when the employee count, obviously it is hard for us to manage as well. Okay, so let me say, okay, what would be your what would be your, okay, if your company is facing an additional, or if your company is facing basically a cultural shift, what is the one strategy which you will implement to make sure that all the employees are handling the cultural shift? Or let's say if your company is facing a bad culture currently, what is that one liner strategy you will implement in your organization? You can use it in the chat box. Okay, the one liner strategy. What is that one liner strategy? Okay, use it in the chat box. A simple one liner strategy. If your company is facing a bad culture, what is that one liner strategy which you will implement? Okay, okay. Identify problems to save time. Okay, implement the strategies, meeting discussions. Okay, okay. Identifying the problems. Okay, okay. Okay, great, great. diagnosis of problems, feedbacks, discussions, remind them of the company's vision statement. Okay, okay. Okay, great, great. So yes, saying that we have come to the end of the session. I'll try to give a small brush up about today's session. So in today's session, we discussed multiple things, but I just wanted to give you a small debrief, or you can also say it like a recall aspect, whatever we discussed today. So first thing is we discussed about organization development, and we discussed about what are the 5 phases of organization development. We also, that is something like entry, feedback, solution, evaluation, and stuff like that. We also discussed about the 2 initiatives basically in the organization development. The first is the human process, and the second is the strategy process, or building strategies. Why human process is very important, why strategy process is also important. These are the things which we basically saw in the last 40 to 45 minutes. So let's open the chat box for the queries time. Let's try to initiate the queries. You can mention your whatever queries you have regarding today's session. Today we discussed about organization development. So whatever queries you have regarding today's session, you can mention it in the chat box. I'll try to address those queries slowly one by one. Let's let's express our queries in the chat box. The last 10 or 15 minutes, let's try to make use of it for the Q&A session. Okay. Yeah, please reply. Okay. Yes, Govan. So, Govan, since you have interest in industrial psychology, you can start with an MSc. Basically, you can join any sort of reputed universities, either in India, or if you want to go for abroad also, that is also fine. Where you'll be able to get seats regarding MSc Industrial Psychology or HR Psychology, and you can start your career in the psychology field itself. That would be what maybe you can start as for your career. Okay, all the others, like whatever queries you have regarding today's session, try to mention it in the chat box. We'll try to address it. Is it possible for an IO psychologist to check upon 50 plus employees in a firm? Yeah, of course, it is not at all possible, TJ. Okay, understand it. And that is where, the frameworks, and there are many frameworks and things like there's something called as OKR, objective key results. There is something called as KPI, key performance indicators. These are frameworks which helps us to track the employees. And there are many softwares also to track the employees. So that is what we cannot manually do it, but we can try to use these frameworks and softwares and track the employees. Yeah, yes, so like, more than the comfortable factor, we can try to focus on the employees taking ownership terms. Say, for instance, if you take ownership to a particular aspect, there are high chances that you are not going to ruin it, because you know that you don't want to get a bad name, because you take responsibility for it. So instead of focusing on the productivity aspect, we can try to bring the culture of ownership in the organization, and that would make a very big difference, basically. Okay, a person from any field can pursue psychology purpose direction. Yes, you can. Everybody. Basically, you can do it. Everybody can do it. The thing is, like, if you have a UG degree, it will be little more added advantage for you to understand the gist of psychology. That's why most people start with UG as well as MD. But if you're really passionate, definitely you can do a PG. Say the PhD is important to get job in abroad countries. No, it's not like that. The PhD is actually for people who are into research. It is not, say, for instance, if you are passionate about research, more research methods and aspects like that, focus on the PhD. Or if you are also interested into teaching, you can also go for PhD. And this is not mandatory, as I'm saying that as I said yesterday, so the future is about skills. It's not about the degrees alone. Degrees are just an additional element. But if you wanted to go into abroad, like I think a PG would be fine for you. Right? Of course, it also depends on the the stream which you take. Whether you are going to take research field, whether you are going to take teaching field, or you are going to get into industry, that also plays a role. Doing masters in psychology, what should I do after completing masters? Yeah, the best thing is like you can I'll try to ask you the same question, Balwinder. Like, do you want to get into research? Do you want to get into teaching? Do you want to get into industry? If you want to get into industry, you can directly apply for the companies and start doing it. If you are getting into teaching, you need more educational qualifications like MPhil or PhD. Focus on that aspect. Okay. There's no specific job title as organization project abroad. What are the job titles or positions I can look for instead? Yeah, basically the job titles is, as I mentioned in the yesterday's session, it's like you will be initiating with as HR professional on most times, because the job title has been it is a developing sector. It is not a developed sector. Say counseling psychologist is a developed sector. Clinical psychology is a developed sector. Organization psychology is still in developing, but has a wide future. So basically, HR professional is the title which you have to look for, and then you can try to bring the differences accordingly. Okay. So how was different an MSc organization as job prospects? As I mentioned earlier, Swati. Yeah, Selvaraj, Ajesh Selvaraj. Selvaraj, like if you wanted to manage, if you're a management person, you just hold your sleeve and get into management completely and stuff like that. You can choose this MBA. But if you just wanted to bring change through your actions and show empathy, actually work on the welfare of the employees, choose MSc. It is based on your own interest. You have to choose things. Okay. Feel like we are putting the company before employees when it comes to what does that go against whole psychology? No, it is not like that, Swati. Like I understand that, of course, it may look that we are not working for the employees or factors, but the company is also expecting you to focus on the employees. The company doesn't focus or ask you to. I'm saying about the good companies which actually want to improve. I'm not saying about all companies. I'm saying about the good companies. They actually focus on the employees only. They don't focus on the management, and that is where IO plays a role here. Because if the company is kind of very typical corporate, then that is not the right place for IOs. Apart from a background in IO psychology, what other skills to focus? Yeah. What are the other skills to focus on for jobs as HR? The first thing is observation skill. I think that is very, very important for a HR, because that is what is going to bring much difference in your whole work profile. Observation. Even if you don't know anything, even if you don't have much relevant skills, if you are good at observation, that is one of the mandatory skills for every single HR in the field or in HRs before hiring them for our organization. We just have to check whether they care for the people who they work with. That is what the first important criteria when you are hiring HR professionals. after finishing an MSc in counseling psychology can be started with. Sorry, Syed Ali Fatima, like I'm not into that field, so I don't want to misguide you, but you can try with the factor. My since my specific area is organization psychology, I don't wanted to comment on it, and I don't want to misguide you, so I'm passing the question, Syed. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. Yeah. For specifically for understanding about IO psychology or the skill set of books, a good book recommendation which I would say is there's a book called as High Output Management. Okay, High Output Management by Andy Grove. It was not only written based on the management perspective. It was basically written based on how to run a company and how to make sure all your employees are working towards things and every single factor. So I think High Output Management by Andy Grove, that would be a good suggestion for you to start with your readings. It is a self-help book as well. It's a good book to read. Try it out. Coming into this field, can you share your journey of coming? Yeah, I actually started as a small as a HR assistant in a startup. Then from there, I started with working with clients. Then I slowly initiated into HR consulting as well as advisory. And I also have worked as a campus recruitment consultant for corporates like Accenture, Wipro, TCS, Infosys, and many other tech startups, tech companies basically. And I have also been, working as a HR advisor for 10 to 15 plus startups in India, Singapore, and Dubai locations, where my role is to, specifically give them advisory comments related with their human resource process, where I train the HR manager, the HR managers implement things. That is what I personally do, and I have also mentored around 25,000 plus students pan India regarding HR training and development programs, where I have also been mentoring students from colleges like IIM, XLRI, and many other universities regarding HR programs. To be more specific, this was my journey specific. Okay. Any other questions? Must average salary in India after completing masters in OP from UK. Yeah. In India, the average salary after completing masters in UP from masters in OP from UK. I don't want to disappoint you, Ajesh, but I just have to say the truth. As a mentor, I just have to say the truth. Like, if you're completing if you're completing a degree from foreign countries and you're returning to India, that is a wrong choice, which I would not suggest you, because the salary for a beginner in India would be somewhere around 25 to 35k, and that will not even help you in repaying your the high study loans also. So if you are doing a master's, try to get into job in that same country itself. That's what I would suggest personally. Okay. Okay, then that's it. Thank you. Thanks for the time, and thanks for making sure that all the participants are, um, really participative throughout the session. I'm happy that you were also able to have a good time during the session. And yeah, that's it for today. So we'll have the final session tomorrow evening, the same time, 7 to 8 p.m. Thank you. Thank you all.